Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and tonight we have an Age of Sigmar / Warhammer Fantasy Battles unboxing extravaganza for you, as it were. So we're looking at the original Chaos Warhounds. Recently, my local store had what would they call the mercenary market, where we actually different people can actually sell their own items that they're not using, and trade with others, and just buy secondhand items that are either out of print or that they're looking for at a discount typically. Now, I saw these guys in a box already assembled, and so I got to talking with the owner. Found out that he had this box of sealed ones and traded something that I was actually selling directly for it. So completely new in the wrapper. Now, I did break the seal just to make things a little bit faster for you. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. Now, I've never actually owned a set of the original Chaos Warhounds, but I always liked the sculpts themselves, and so figured no reason not to. Let's see. Now, with these older models, you don't always have instructions with them, so these ones you don't, but looking at the kits, they're pretty straightforward, and I mean, we even have the old school rectangle bases for them. And so each one has 5 models on each sprue, and it looks like, okay, so yeah, the sprues are exactly the same. Now, even with as old as these are, I mean, there's still quite a bit of detail there. And so definitely looking forward to giving these guys a paint. And the only downside is I'm going to have to try to look for some cavalry bases that are rounded. Now, so it's been a while since we've done a proper unboxing with some battletomes, and so long in fact that there's now 5 battletomes that we have not done yet. So we're going to go through them real quick, just take a quick look at what they have to offer. I've broken the seals on each of these to make it easier and faster for you guys. Alright, so starting with the Caradron. Now, the Caradron are ones that I've never personally really cared for. Oops. There we go. And it took actually a short story from C.L. Warner to actually explain them in a way that made sense. I mean, because looking at them, no one really ever explained any lore to me. Just going through and seeing them seem like steampunk dwarves that fly around in blimps. Nothing truly special to them other than like some of their weaponry being pretty cool looking. But that after reading that short story, basically they were traders and had a run-in with some Skaven. It was a great story, definitely worth a read if you haven't had the chance. But it was really good. It was in the Thunderstrike and Other Short Stories compilation. Now, going through, so the lore itself ends going into page 40, and so this includes the new Code Right model. I'm curious if it has the current rules for Jacob Bugman. He's actually one of the only Caradron models I've actually ever cared about having, and that's just because they made special rules for him in Warcry. But So now going into page 60, that's where the army rules actually start out. Now, we do have different skyports, so different color schemes themselves. Now, looking at these, my personal favorite is going to be this one right here. Reds and blacks are always like my two main favorite colors to use while painting armies. So that one works out perfectly for me. We have our quests, heroic upgrades, territories. Alright, and then here we are with the actual war scrolls for the different characters. Drecky Flint, who's also got his own book as well, or maybe books now, can't remember which. I know he was featured in a previous story and then he had a new book come out. The Code Right, which is the newest model. Now, I do have an ironclad already and painted up, specifically to use as the main ship for my, kind of as a centerpiece for my table for when we play Cursed City. One of these days I'll actually share that with you guys and show you guys what it looks like, or what they look like. So it did not actually include the rules for Jacob Bugman, so that's interesting. Kind of surprised since he is a newer character, but maybe because he was a limited run. Alright, now for the Heathen Knights of Slaanesh. So the Caradon Overlords were the only Order faction that we have here. We have 2 Chaos Blades of Corn, the Heathen Knights, and then we have 2 of for the Death Grand Alliance. But I mean, I personally love the battletomes just for the lore alone. There's just so much depth to each army here, and I am looking forward to going over the Caradon Overlords. Really looking forward to the Heathen Knights of Slaanesh, specifically because of Slaanesh actually recently being freed. So I'm expecting to see some more lore kind of around that, and learning more about how that happened and what occurred. And some of the models especially are fantastic as well. I mean, Sigvald the Magnificent is by far an awesome model. The Lords of Hubris, that new model is actually pretty cool looking. I've actually seen some people paint it up already and it looks pretty cool. So that's him right here. But as far as a Heathen Knight model, leading my army, personally, I don't think you can go wrong with using Sigvald instead. I just think he's the superior looking model. But I definitely need to get around to actually painting up all my Heathen Knights, because I got quite a few of them ready to go. Just need to actually be built and painted, as well as a bunch of Slaaneshi demons. The Infernal Enraptress is another one that I have that I've been meaning to paint. Same with some of the Fiends, and just a lot of fantastic models in this army. Really looking forward to them. And then I like that they actually include how to freehand some banner icons. You don't get a lot of instruction on how to freehand very well, and so that's actually really cool. Then we go into the army section, which that finally happens at about page 76. And so let's just take a quick look, see if there's any new models in here besides the Lord of Hubris. Alright, so we have the Keeper of Secrets, Shalaxi Hellbane, Sinessa Dexessa, which that's actually a really cool model, regardless of which way you build it. The contorted epitome. The Infernal and Rapturous, by far one of my absolute favorite Slaaneshi models. Let's see. The Dread Pageant, that was one of the Warcry warbands. And then we have our Endless Spells. So the only thing new is the Lord of Hubris there. So now let's go ahead and open up Blades of Khorne. And so much red. Definitely fitting for a Khorne army. Now, I actually have a set of these Endless Spells right there. Definitely looking forward to painting them. Kind of actually thinking about merging them with that floating island that has like the waterfalls coming out of it that came with the Thondian Stronghold box, and kind of making it more of a Khorne theme for that, or maybe scratching off the Khorne symbols and just making this part of the terrain and just making it chaos in general. Definitely a lot of really cool Khorne models out there. Love this warband, which I know we've talked about it in a previous video, from Warcry. Got our painting guide. And then more lore and history, Gore Chosen, Champions. And then get into the real pictures about page 48, where you see all the examples that have been done. Did I flip back through this? I'm just going through it again? Or do we actually see them twice? Now look, okay, so we see them twice. So that said page 60, page... All right, so there's definitely some chaos influence in this book, because we have, as you can see right here, page 60 and page 60 with a lot of pages in between. So that means they added some pages in here twice. Interesting. Hopefully that doesn't mean somebody didn't get those pages. And here we are with part of the painting guide again, actually the rest of it. And then page 70 is actually where we go into start building the army. Now, I only know about one new model from what I remember seeing, but I can't remember exactly who it is or what it is. Now, this black Bloodthirster, I've never seen one that looked like that before, color scheme wise, and it looks fantastic. Let's see. Other than the warbands models, I mean, as far as new ones. Oh yeah, it was the Realmgore Ritualist is the new one. Let's see if there's any other new ones to expect. I doubt it though. But Khorne's always had a lot of really cool champion models. Now, I'm really looking forward to actually building the Claws of Karanak and actually have Karanak with them in the same army. So definitely a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of really cool models. Definitely looking forward to them. Now, for Soulblight Gravelords. I've actually learned something about myself recently with them, and it's that I used to love the undead factions, but after building and painting the graveyard, I realized I don't have the patience for such fragile models, and like, other than, you know, just more of the lore and things like that about the army, I'm not as interested in playing them as I used to be. But a lot of the models do work really well with Warcry, especially since the expansions came out, like the Dire Wolves. Plan on building our Vengorian Lord as well, and as well as our Blood Knights, and then the Skurgans as well. And we actually have the Crimson Court too to build. But the more fragile skeleton models, definitely going to avoid building them if I can. So these ones start the actual army rules on page 54. And let's see if there's anything new in here other than the female I can't remember their faction's name, or sub-faction. So with any undead army, we do have Nagash, Manfred von Karstein is here, Neferata. Now out of the two of these in that kit, I'm planning on building it as Lucavi, but maybe doing the arm with the upward sword, if it will work with her armor. Haven't decided yet. We got the two different versions of Redikar. Oh yeah, so I have Volga as the new one, the Outcast, for the Virkros. And then let's see, I like that they're including more of the Cursed City models. Okay, so a lot of stuff in there, a lot of different models to pick from, so you don't have to actually do much with the actual skeletons if you don't want to. But I do know that they typically make up a large portion of the army in general, so it might be a little difficult to effectively field them without them, but definitely can see how that goes. Now, the Oziark is our last one to look at. And now, definitely, they don't seem to be nearly as fragile as the others. Arkin the Black, absolutely love that model. Now, subscribers to Warhammer Plus, there's actually now a deep dive into Catacross's lore, and it's actually pretty interesting, and definitely learned a lot more about him than I knew about before, for sure. But if I were to do a skeleton-based army, it definitely would be the Oziarks, because they're a lot less flimsy as far as the sprues are concerned. Then we have our painting guide. And then building the army starting on 72. And then, as before, we start with Nagash. Catacross, Arc in the Black, Arch Cavalos, Xanthos. That one's a really cool model. I did paint it, did a really crappy job because mostly I was using it to test a lot of new techniques on, and really hated how he came out. So I think I'm gonna have to repaint him at some point. Now, I'm not super familiar with the details of this army, so I don't know really which model is the new model in here. I want to say it's one of the ones on horseback, but I'm not certain. Maybe Leech Cavalos, I don't know for sure. If you guys know, please tell me, so that way I can pay better attention. But a lot of cool stuff in here, and definitely love the aesthetic for sure. But that's it for tonight. Thank you guys as always for watching, and I hope you have yourselves a great night.